Hello and welcome to Conscious TV. My name is Renate McNay and my guest today is Marlies Cocheret. Hello Marlies.
Hello.
Marlies is a psychologist. She's a spiritual teacher in the lineage of Adyashanti. She is also a Tantra educator and a Hakomi therapist. And we talk about her life, her meeting Adyashanti, her journey to waking up. Great. She doesn't have a book out herself, but maybe there is one coming soon. But she is featured in the book Ordinary Woman, Extraordinary Wisdom, The Feminine Phase of Awakening. Now that is where I would like to start, about the feminine phase of awakening. In your work and your experience with women, are they also waking up, or is it only men?
There are women.
Because there are so many more men out there, also so many more men coming forward and being interviewed here on Conscious TV, and not very many women. So how does their awakening manifest? Are they coming out into the world, or staying more in themselves?
Yeah. I think in general the character of women is the tendency, you could say, of the women is more to stay inside. But I would say the main tendency, the difference, you could say, between male and female awakening, it's a little tricky to say it, but let's say there's a difference, is that men tend to wake up more, have a sense of spaciousness. I'm nothing. Nobody here, nothing happening, and kind of hanging out in that space.
I know that.
And women is more in the body, because also just the female, literally the experiences in the body, the women are more pulled in the body naturally by the natural movements in the body, the monthly period, that in itself. So women are more having heart awakenings and body awakenings. They're more here in that way before they kind of have the hanging out in space awakening, as I call it.
Before they go more into the expansion. And why is it that there are not many more women out there teaching?
Yeah, I've asked myself that question a lot. I really don't have the answer. I think traditionally men have been teaching more than women over the years. And obviously in many traditions, if it's Buddhism or Christianity, it's mostly male teachers. And the women, have to sit in the back somewhere, or they're the cooks, instead of really learning the teachings. And I think a lot of women that have woken up to their true nature have their families, and they're taking care of the children, and really are very, very present and awake in that, and they don't announce it to the world. There's less, you could say, a less natural need to go out and do that.
I mean, I would think it's so important, the embodiment is so important, because in a way it's reflected what's happening in our world. There is no embodiment, there is no appreciation of
Mother Earth.
That's right.
It's changing now, but it's well, also in the book you can see the women talk more about feelings, emotions, sensations, and bringing more of that in. I remember when I gave the book to Adya to read, and I spoke him a week later, and he said he liked it. I said, "What do you like about it?" And he said a man would have never written a book like that.
Interesting.
And so it's really about women naturally speak more about emotion, and also you could say men tend to be a little bit more hardened here, protected. So it's hard for them to really embody and really experience in the body, and it's easier for them to hang out here. For women, they tend to feel more easily emotions, and you could say the downside of that, they want to hang out there a little bit too much.
They're too much identified.
Too much identified with that.
Yeah.
So I think for all of us, it's to learn to let life in, all of life in, but then also let it out. And I think for all of us, it's the learning to let that in. And for women, it tends to be a little bit more stuck in the body. And for the males, more a denial that there is a body.
Yes. Yeah, I remember my teacher saying once, enlightenment without the heart is cruel and cold. Yeah. And I know you talk a lot about being in the heart, and I guess your journey is also in your teaching. You teach people the heart, or moving to the heart. Yeah. But how can we learn that, to be more in the heart?
That's a good question.
How can those two meet, really?
Yeah. It is, in my experience, it has a lot to do with really coming in contact with your original longing that comes from the heart. And in my experience, God put that longing there right in our hearts. So it's kind of like, let's say for a lot of people there's the sense of expansion of truth, knowing I am that, or calling it I am nothing. And then naturally life, sooner or later, will really bring us to our knees. There will come an experience that we cannot hold up this kind of protection of like all is just nothing, it's nobody here, nothing happening, I don't feel anything. And there starts something to break, and literally there comes a connection with the heart.
Yes.
So I don't really know how to say like it happens this or this or this way. There comes a time where naturally there's a willingness to feel, and to really feel all of life. The pain and the suffering and the happiness. It becomes an actual sensation in the heart and the experience. So it's kind of truth and the heart. The heart falls into truth, or the truth falls into the heart.
Yeah. And was it your own suffering which brought you to this place?
Oh, absolutely.
I know you told me earlier you were born with a genetic kidney disease.
Yeah.
And can you talk a little bit about the journey with this illness?
Yeah, that really brought me to my knees, because I was very identified with it. I was, even before I knew I had it, I was very identified with any little pain in my body. I was very scared. And but there was also a hardness, like, I'm not going to go there. And I was also have been a top athlete, so that helps also to kind of harden and get everything organized. But then in this process, I over the years, I really realized that there was so much discomfort in the body and so much fear that I had to, if I want to be totally free, I had to go into that. And I remember one night, years ago, waking up in the night and doing this prayer, like, I know I'm not completely free. I know embodiment has not happened. I know I'm not fully, like, open-hearted in connection with the illness and everything. That's what I want. I want to be free, no matter what it takes. I forgot all about it, went back to sleep. And 2 days later, I found myself in the emergency room. Right. And I was laying there, and I was like, oh, okay, this is the answer to my prayer. But that felt also for the first time, truly for the first time, that I could receive the pain and the discomfort and the fears, not trying to get rid of it, not trying to push it away, but really truly feel like, I'm really scared.
Yeah.
I'm just scared to die. And simultaneously there was this immensity of love that I experienced. And that's where it started to change, actually.
Yeah, that's true. If we really allow what is happening, because we also know we cannot run away.
Right.
You know, it's like a door opens, and we can glimpse the freedom or the love.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because so much before that was an trying to heal or trying to get rid of, and just working really hard to not feel it, even though pretending that I was feeling it, but I wasn't really. I was like only the thoughts on top of it.
Yeah.
And that was a deep learning and truly taking to heart, like, I'm actually really, really scared.
Yeah.
I'm actually really identified with this body. You know, however, awakeness has happened here, but there's really, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
And to really allow that was so heart-opening. Yeah.
And how over the years you lived with this disease, did something change with your fear, with more the embodiment in this, with this structure, bringing embodiment with bringing the light into this structure?
Yeah, that's really what happened. I did a lot of meditation. For some reason, I have always been very moved by that. So I had been sitting a lot, and especially with the fear.
Yeah.
And I just learned in that process to feel it, to let it be there, and to realize I'm afraid to die. And also periods of time really realizing, because my mom had the same disease and died of that very, very young, and
your sister has it,
and my
too.
sister has it too.
Yeah.
So there were periods of time that while I was sitting there, I was like, oh, this fear is actually not my fear. It's my mother. You know, what would come in meditation, oh, this is Mama. This is not me. So what happened was kind of taking the overlay of thoughts. That's really what the fear was. I'm going to die. I'm not strong enough. I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm not okay. And also just fears that had nothing to do with the illness, but the illness really was an entrance in, was the doorway in. And just one by one, they kind of left. You know, I don't really know how I did it, but it just kind of started happening. And then more and more, I came in contact with the actual sensation of sometimes there's a certain discomfort in the body, but there's just the sensation, there's no fear anymore. And sometimes I'm still in awe that there's no fear, because it was just so part of who I thought I was. And so it just kind of left me. I'm sorry, I'm really still in awe.
No,
like,
it's
how is that
beautiful.
possible? But
was that actually the very thing which put you on the spiritual path? Or was it something different? Was it the force which pushed you to find out who you are?
You know, very, very early on, I think when I was very young, I was on the spiritual path without really knowing I was on the spiritual path. I was just always searching for something, because I knew the way things were in my upbringing also, even though my parents really did the best they could. I felt always there's something wrong, there's something missing. And I never really talked with anybody about it, but there was like, I was looking for it. And I knew when I would find it, that was it.
And did you have any feeling for what that it could be?
Well, I do remember that I just was really in love with my father. I think part of it was really healthy and part of it not so healthy. But I remember when we would do things together, he would hold my hand. And that holding of my hand in his hand, I felt this is part of it. I think as a child, I can label it now, I felt very safe. But there was something else. There was such deep connection, some sense of connectedness, that was one of the pointers for me. And one other pointer was with the neighbor. One neighbor that I felt also, again, very safe with was a man that when I didn't feel good at home, then I would go to him and his wife, and I would sit on his lap. And I was that same sense of taste of being really completely loved. I didn't really think in those words then, more when I look back.
Yes, so you felt held.
I felt totally held and home, and I didn't need to be in any way different than what I was or how I was. And there was there's a real deep sweetness in that.
Because you say you met, I think, your first teacher 30 years ago, and you had an it experience. And which I'd like you to talk about in a moment. But again, you said when you started going through the physical process of, emotions coming, he held you. So that seems to be something which is very important for you. In order to let go. The holding.
Absolutely. Yeah, because when I came with my first teacher, when I just sat down there, there was an utter sense of home. Home and being completely held in that homeness.
So how was it?
What
did you find out?
It was home. Really, I don't know what else to call it. Home and utter sense of safety and goodness and rightness, like out breath, really. And I still can feel that sensation when I just actually sat with my first teacher and like, and there's a home. This is it. This is it. It really touches me even to say that right now. Yeah. So simple, right? It's so simple. But that's really it.
Yeah, we all want to feel safe and happy.
It's very simple. But it had a sense really of what you said of being held. Also expansion, but that's not the main thing that was there for me. It was just a sense of knowing I'm home, I'm here, this is it. All is well. No matter what happens, all is well.
So then you started searching for this home to be always here, I guess.
That was not so much my experience. It's really funny to work with a lot of people that have that. Like, I get it, I lost it and search. Probably I did, but it was not my experience. My experience was more like when I was in that ashram, it's like I had that sense of home and all is well. And then kind of shit hit the fan, really, because all the held and suppressed experience and emotion started coming out. And there was another teacher in that ashram that really helped me so much, because for the first time I could let go without anybody telling me to stop. And I just cried there for the first 3 weeks. I just only cried. And so I wasn't really looking for that it, because it was just here. I felt it was here. I don't feel it was ever gone after that. So I don't have that experience of in and out.
So it was more a sense of, this is who I am. In that moment. And completely allowing it.
I never called it then, I am that. There was something much later. It was more since I'm home. I'm just here. And this is, anything that's not that needs to be emptied. So I felt I started a process of being emptied of anything that's not real, so that more of that sense of home could settle in. So now I would call that embodiment.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And that was a really, really big part of what I did those years. And that was also part of that teacher combination of meditation, resting in that home, and then letting all the stuff, you know, come out.
Maybe we can talk a little bit more about that, because it seems to be such an important subject. You know, the whole embodiment, because we know that 80% of our ego structure is in the body, and 20% in our mind. And you know, I experience sometimes people saying, yes, I'm awake, and I know who I am, but it is not embodied. There's still all the structures are still functioning very well.
Very well.
and I know Adyashanti talks a lot about that. You know, people who come to him and say, Adya, there's nobody here. No, I'm completely gone. And then Adya says, and why do you behave like a jerk?
Exactly.
So it seems to be something we're really scared of, the embodiment.
And it's so important. Yes. Well, people are scared of their own experience, really. It's really fascinating how much time is spent not to experience what is truly here.
Not to feel.
Not to feel. And of course, we're trained like that in the Western world. You know, when it's a child, you're not allowed to feel. When you're angry, you should behave, should be quiet. Or when you're crying, as I grew up, you know, crying, you know, stop crying. You're a crybaby, just get over it. So we're trained to stuff everything. So I can understand when awakening happens, when we wake up to our true nature, there's all this space. You know, why would you go there? You know?
Exactly.
And so I understand. But then, sooner or later, as I said before, life will really help us, even if we don't want to, to actually learn to experience. And I feel that's the biggest part of the work that I do with people, to how would your life be if you completely allow, completely love, or even deeper, completely receive what is here? What does that really mean? And it doesn't really mean only receive the space that I am, this no thing, this no mind, but also really receiving our humanity. Because, you know, I think these bodies that are given to us is just the most amazing, magical, precious thing, body, you know, I think it's fantastic. So to truly allow an emotion or feeling, it's so beautiful. When you actually dare to go there, to feel, when I have pain in my belly, to feel that pain. Because when we actually feel that pain, fully receive that, naturally it opens. But most of us, we live in a contraction that tends to be kind of rooted somewhere here, right in the stomach, that a lot of people deny because they're really scared. Most people are really scared to meet this, and it's easier to hang out in space. So I have found over the years I work a lot with people, helping them to experience what is actually here. And then often people are in their thought about their experience. So to learn to see that, okay, that's fear, but what's the actual sensation? What's really the actual direct experience? And when people go in the actual direct experience, it's actually not that bad. It's just a sensation. And to let that unfold And then naturally when it unfolds and releases whatever it needs to release, then naturally more space actually enters in the body. So waking, that awakeness starts resting in the body, the nervous system starts calming, and people arrive more here. And actually this space here, this body becomes space, but not just, yes, empty, but empty of thought, empty of stuff, but full of life, full of aliveness. So to me, it's I love this, what in Zen, you know, in the Heart Sutra said, like, form is emptiness, emptiness is form.
Yeah.
And that's what I really experienced in really coming in the body. You get emptied of garbage or psychic stuff or what doesn't belong there, and the true emptiness comes there in the form. What's actually very full and rich.
Yeah. Well, I guess also that's what's reflected in the line Jesus says, be a man in the world but not of it.
Right.
To be a man in the world, you need to be really embodied and here.
Yeah.
And again, something my teacher said, you know, it's wonderful. In his experience, he finally was at home,
Yeah.
you know, in the absolute,
Yeah.
where he felt he could rest.
Yeah.
But then he realized that's not the place where he can hang out.
Exactly.
He needs to go back
Yeah.
into the embodiment, into the messiness of the world,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
where also the juice is happening.
Exactly. That's where the life is. That's
Yeah.
where the meat is. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And you say yourself, you are not interested in emptiness teaching.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in 1998, you met Adyashanti.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you became very close to him. And how was that?
It was.
So he became your main teacher.
Yeah, he became my main teacher. It really touches me, even when I hear you speak about it. I remember going to his first satsang where, there were just a few people, just 7, 8, 9 people. Yeah. I remember walking in and sitting there. I went there with my former husband, and I was sitting there, and it's like, this is it. I just knew it. There was just a sense of peace, sense of realness, and I just knew this is my teacher. I was not really looking for a teacher.
Yeah.
But I just knew it, and my husband had exactly the same. We kind of looked at each other, it's like, yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
And I immediately went on retreat with him, and I just loved the combination of I knew this man was free, and simultaneously the ordinariness, and just being in the worldness, what was very important for me. And and a lot I don't even know, it just was, there was the movement, and that was just what was given by life, and I attended to it.
And 2 years later he asked you to teach?
Yes, he did.
Which was a shock for you?
That was a total shock. I remember it was in a silent retreat, and he did, during the silent retreats he had dokusan, private meeting. And I remember I walked in, and you do your bows and all the stuff, and talked with him, and he asked me to teach. And I thought, okay. And I remember thinking, like, it's good he asked me here so nobody knows about it. I'm not ever going to tell anybody, because I was just like, this can't be real. And so the retreat continued, and then during the last satsang, he inaugurated me by singing the Heart Sutra. And it was very moving, but I felt very divided inside. Part of me, of course, I was so touched by that.
Did he do that in front of other people?
In front of other people. So part of me was really touched.
So it was like a little ceremony?
It was a ceremony.
Wow.
It was very touching.
Yeah.
I felt so shy, I used to be very shy.
And it was just only you, or were there some others lined up?
No, I was the only one.
Yeah.
So he inaugurated me, and part of me felt actually ashamed. I just wanted to hide, walk out the door. And part of me felt so touched by it, and I just didn't know what. I was totally like in awe. So both. So yeah, it took me some time to.
So what did he see in you?
Well, it was really a recognition that awakening had happened. And but also, as far as I know, what I understand from him, he just knew. He just asked people to teach then. He doesn't do that anymore. That he just knew that it just came to him and that he trusts. And it was an acknowledgement that a shift had really happened in consciousness, a shift of identification had happened. And but I know for quite a while, I started to teach, but for quite a while I had discussions with him, why didn't you ask me to teach? I absolutely don't get it. Enlightenment hasn't happened here. It doesn't make sense. You made a mistake. That's what I said. You made a mistake. And he would say, I didn't make a mistake. I said, you did make a mistake. How can you ask me? So we had these discussions, and I remember him saying at one time, Marlies, it's more important to be in integrity than being, super enlightened. And I thought, okay, that I can handle. I said, that's all I really want to be, is in integrity for where I am. That's what I am. And I remember also during that time, a friend of mine told me about a psychic, and I went to this psychic. And I remember walking into the door, and I sat down, and this man had never seen me before, and he said, you're here to be a spiritual teacher. And I thought, okay. So I remember after that session, I called Adya. I said, well, okay, I'm confirmed. I'm okay with it now. But so there was a process for me, because I knew there was still ego here. There was still stuff here. I was just all here, and I can't pretend, I didn't want to, because when I was asked to teach, a lot of people all of a sudden saw me as this enlightened person. And I had like, that's not where I'm at, I'm just still Marlies. And awakening has happened, shift of identification has happened, and still there's stuff here. So that was really important.
Was there a moment where you actually felt this shift happening?
No, it was more after the fact. I can't remember a moment. I do remember one morning I was with my best girlfriend. We were having breakfast, and she kind of stopped and took my hands in her hand, and she said, something has changed. And I said, yeah, something has changed. And she said, I'm really happy for you. I said, yeah, I'm happy too. And then we just continued our breakfast. And later I thought, like, well, that was kind of a confirmation of the shift. But I don't have these big experiences. I never had. And so I don't have an awakening experience. You could say
silent waking up.
Silent waking up. It's more after the fact that I realized it kind of grew, slipped in. You could say perhaps the experience with my first teacher of home is an awakening experience. But I would never call it that way.
But there was the experience of knowing who you are. That
But
was the shift.
So shift happened, but I really don't know when. And
so did you see the world then from a different perspective, and the relationships and who you are?
I think the first taste I had when I was with my first teacher, that sense of home. But that I don't feel the identity was really had shifted. I feel that shift, I don't know when it happened, The only thing I know that at some point I just noticed that I was not so affected anymore by stuff, and I was just really resting as presence, resting as this still life presence, and just noticing more and more like, oh, that's just what I am. This is really all there is. And I do remember one time that I was like, oh wow, it has really truly has always been here. When I was a little girl, it was the same. It has never changed. And that resting has been here all along. So even when stuff comes up, it's always here. And that even though stuff comes up, the identification feels like it's here. It's just here. And it feels very simple. It doesn't feel like this huge thing that happened to me. It feels very ordinary and simple. And I actually talked with Adya about that too, because working with so many people that have, all big experiences. And so I remember talking with him one day. I said, it feels sometimes a little odd. I can't remember any experience. I don't. My personality also, I think, doesn't have these big things. It's kind of more like very stable. And he was like, "No, just be happy. That's just how it is." I said, "Okay, that's fine. I don't really want it. I don't have." But it was really important to be acknowledged in that. So that helped me to fully 100% trust. Like, there's just more kind of the non-experience of presence, and I'm just here. I feel really super simple. I just feel I'm just here. That's really here. It's very freeing.
You have a big love for silence. You say, in the silence, your being is so alive. Can you say more about?
I feel the silence is my first love. It's like my most intimate love. And I feel so alive. I mean, silence is not just quiet. It's I feel it in my whole being. I feel it in my whole body. It's an alive presence, this silence. And it's very still and very alive simultaneously. It's very spacious. It feels it's everything. It's this experience for me. It's like there's nothing that's not silence. But I wrote this poem that really expresses it for me. I feel this. It seems like there are two, but there's not really two. But there's this incredible love for silence. It's my first love, and I have no interest in anything else really, as long as it doesn't come from that. But then, now it feels more. It's all, First there was a sense, I am silence, but now it's like I am silence. Silence. Everything is that. And it's life, and it's aliveness, it's empty, it's full, it's everything, but none of these words really touch it.
Understand.
And only when that moves,
you move with it.
I move with it, or as it. First it's more a sense I go out of the way, so it comes through, but now it's like, I am that, I move as that. And if I don't, it literally hurts. That's my experience.
So, what can we do to be in this silence as well? Was it grace, or was there a process? Of course, there was a process. Till this silence was more felt.
Well, it was really that process of being emptied. Because when there's more stuff emptied, more small mind emptied, more of the silence can come in, and with that, in my experience, was more sense of aliveness, more sense of permission to be the Marlies-ness of the universe, so to speak. And how we get there, think life gives us exactly what we need. And for me, it was different teachers, this illness, other different experiences that all helped me to go in. Because that I had a really firm intention or longing. I wanted to be free. Actually, I remember one of my teachers, Osho, who was speaking one day on his birthday, where he was speaking like, I'm absolutely content. And one day it will happen to you. Maybe tomorrow, maybe today, maybe the day after tomorrow. But it's possible for everyone. And I remember him saying that, and I had like, that's what I want. And I feel that's what's here. There's an absolute contentment and with what is or what isn't. And within that, there's still an opening for maturation and deepening and change. But there is a ground of resting in what is.
Somehow we feel, a lot of people feel, we actually can do something. You know, when your teacher said freedom or full awakening can happen to you or to anybody else,
yeah.
Which set you on fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
We feel we can do something for it.
Yeah.
But yet when the perspective shifted, you realize there was never anything you could do for it.
Yeah, and yeah, I don't, that's true. It's like, there's nothing you can do for it, but it's also something you can do for it, but it's nothing. You know, for me, to answer your question, meditation was a big part.
Yeah.
And it's not that I thought, oh, when I meditate really hard, then I will get enlightened. But there was just this urge, like, I have to sit. I want to investigate. I want to know this silence. And for me, it was like sitting. Yeah. And I still love to sit and meditate. I just love it. So that was my route. But it's not so much a not doing. It's like a not doing. You know, that's it's both. Because it's not about laying on the couch and falling asleep and, you know, awakening has happened and now I just fall asleep. No, it's I feel awakening is just, that first awakening is just a little step.
Yeah.
And then naturally, at least in my experience, and I see with a lot of people, a curiosity comes like, okay, how can I live this? What is this? How can this deepen? So to me, there's you can still do something. But it's not like doing to get somewhere. It's more naturally a doing and an unfolding and an unraveling that starts happening of what is not seen yet. So, yeah.
You also say just hang out more or allow more the void or the fullness of your being.
Yeah.
What is the void in your experience?
Yeah.
And how can we decide to hang out in the void?
Yeah, yeah. That's more you're making yourself available for it. So, in my experience, for instance, in sitting and meditation is, you know, first when we sit in meditation, it's not what you think it is, it's just conditioning is right there.
Yeah.
But then I learned that just making myself available for the void or the silence to come to the forefront, I just make myself available. I can't make it happen. I can only make myself available. And the more I just started sitting and relaxing, the more the silence of my being would come to the forefront. And that would just spread everywhere. And then within that, if there's a contraction or anything that wants to be looked at, is will be seen.
Yeah.
But there's not. I don't know. In my experience, I was not busy to get to the void. I never had that. You know, it was more like I want to be enlightened. It was more like that. And in the sitting, there was more naturally. I don't know. Perhaps I was just lucky. There's the sense of silence was just there. This voidness, this emptiness, was just there in the midst of stuff. So I can't remember like I'm trying to get somewhere so much. It was more for me a process of I call it like insending, you know, not like this, but like insending, and really, and that's also with the illness, it really pulled me in the body. Like, okay, I can read about the body is free and everything, but it's not happened here. What is that? And there was actually also a period of time that I felt very helped by that, by Joel Goldsmith, Christian Science, who had a certain meditation to really come into the body, where you learn that all is God, and to really go into that. And that helps me.
Is it like a prayer, or?
It's kind of like going into your body, different parts. Like you first go into your head, rest there, and kind of look around, while saying to yourself, "Be still and know that I am God." And then you go down into your throat and your arms, and kind of experiencing them, while saying to yourself, "Be still and know that I am God." And then, you know, everywhere in the body. And that was very, very helpful for me to learn that this was from my own experience. Like, oh, this is God. This is presence. This is as much love as this. There's no difference. Space here, space there. So that way there came a deeper realization through doing. But I never felt it was a doing to get somewhere. It was just life provided that, and it just resonated, and then I took it. So for me, the doing was more whatever resonates and comes my way, I use it, and then it lets go.
It feels more like a sinking in into what life provides.
Yeah.
It's a kind of a surrendering.
Yeah, really receiving. Yeah.
What do you feel in you work with a lot of people, and I like to know a little bit about what you do in your seminars, and in your experience, what's in the way with a lot of people of waking up. I also like to know what's the difference. There are so many, you know, there's half waking up, full waking up, enlightenment, slow path, fast path. Because, you know, your first teacher said full awakening is possible. Do you feel full awakening happened in your life? Are you still striving for enlightenment?
So that's a great question, because I don't really have the answer for that yet. I'm still kind of looking myself. What my experience is awakening has happened. That's clear as a bell. And there was the striving for enlightenment. That striving is totally gone. If enlightenment has happened, I really don't know. Truthfully, I don't know. So my guess is it has not happened. But I was just talking with Adi about it. My sense is liberation has happened.
So you feel free.
I feel really free in the midst of no matter what. Doesn't mean there's never an emotion, or doesn't mean there's never a thought, doesn't mean there's no ego. There's still ego here. In the midst of that, there's utter freedom. So I don't feel like full awakening has happened.
Yeah.
But it's just a term, you know, the different terms, I
Yeah,
think probably
yeah.
everybody uses it differently. I mean, it would be interesting what, you know, normally in scientific research, you know, you get all the scientific
Yeah.
researchers together and really discuss what is what. Within spirituality, it doesn't happen that much.
So when you say emotions are still there and
Yeah.
you feel free
Yeah.
in them,
Yeah.
does that mean there is no reaction anymore?
Right.
Or how do, if something is coming up, tell me how your process is
Yeah.
with
Okay.
it.
When something comes up, say I'm with somebody and I get triggered.
Yeah, like
I
you get
get
angry or
Yeah, something.
whatever.
When something comes up, I just experience it. Like, oh, I get triggered. And it tends to be an experience in my body. Say I get, I don't know, pain in my belly, you know.
Yeah.
I just feel it. I just feel it. You know, I used to think, oh, I need to figure it out. What is it? Why? And I was like, no, I don't even go there. I just experience the trigger, the sensation, and fully receive it. And the moment I fully receive it, it just dissolves. It just opens.
Yeah.
So sometimes there comes a wisdom out of that, an understanding, and sometimes there doesn't. But it doesn't matter. And then it just comes and goes. So it just comes and goes. When I get triggered, what happens not that often anymore, but it still happens. It doesn't stay that long either, because I feel I fully receive it. It's almost like a habit, nice side effect. It's just, oh, okay, it's here. I feel just a deep love for the trigger, and a curiosity, and then it comes and it goes.
You know, it seems to me,
Yeah.
and I don't know, that's a question.
Yeah.
Through all this meditation you did, through the emptying out, and mainly through the deep connection you have with silence, or the experience of silence, your whole nervous system is completely relaxed.
Yeah.
And I think this is a big key.
Yeah.
To all of us,
Yeah.
you know, our nervous system, because it's our nervous system which, if that is contracted, which is pushing us, and you know, we are running around. There is no time for silence.
Yeah.
There is no time for relaxation.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Yeah, there's, in our world...
And also our nervous system is wired by all the stuff which is still hanging around, unresolved, unmetabolized structures.
Yes, and it gets constantly activated.
Yeah.
Because, you know, just people watching movies or TV, that activates the nervous system way more than it's acknowledged. Or the way people are busy texting and phoning and doing. It's true. And so an important part of my teaching is the silence, is meditation, because that's been my experience. And, you know, I think it's interesting within Advaita how it's really wonderful, how it's the direct path to know I am that, and that you can just, you know, you can get there. But then, you know, for a whole lot of people, the garbage can opens up and people don't want to really look at it. And a lot of traditions, they first work with that. And then at the end, they ask the question, who am I? And I pondered on that many times, like, what's better, you know? I don't really know what is better, because when you know, with the Advaita way, you know, by waking up to your true nature, early on, so to speak, a lot can fall away naturally, so you don't have to work on it. But also a lot of people are not very mature.
No.
And they spiritualize it away, bypass it away, and it's very hard for them to meet their ego structure. It's very, very hard. So sometimes I think it's really good to first mature a little bit more, and and know how to deal with your humanity before you wake up.
Yeah.
You know? So it's a very delicate, very delicate, because, and probably because also of my training, you know, being a psychologist and a Hakomi therapist. So a lot is for me an utter welcoming of our humanity, because the more and more we welcome our humanity, the more our humanity and divinity are really one and the same. You know, we can laugh about ourselves, because we're all neurotic, you know. We all are neurotic and a little strange, I think. And to
well,
really
it sometimes looks pretty hopeless.
Yeah, sometimes it looks pretty hopeless. I agree.
Yeah.
And still, even the most hopeless people, you know, it is possible to help to calm the nervous system and to build new neural pathways. It is possible for everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
And for some, the suffering is more than for others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I don't know if you know the Mahamudra tradition.
I've heard of it, but
it's from
don't
the
know enough.
Buddhist arm, and I did some meditation retreats. It was actually with Daniel Brown. We also have an interview with him on Conscious TV, and it was brilliant. You learn to focus, because that's a very important thing. I think that's also, you mentioned, you learn discipline and focus is very important on us maturing. And you know, there's all this huge teaching about, you know, the elephant path, and you know, you go through different types of learning to focusing on the breath, and I did not follow up. I did it a couple of times, but friends of mine, they kept going with this teaching, and then they ended up with the Lama, and the Lama said, but they were expecting this huge teaching then from the Lama, which is the next one in the lineage, and said, the only thing you have to do is relax. There's nothing else to do. The moment you relax, you fall back into who you are. And then your nervous system, everything seems to expand.
But for a lot of people cannot just relax.
No.
Also because there's so much trauma for a lot of people, and it's very, very scary to relax.
Well, I'm looking at the clock. I think we have to stop. I'm not quite sure. I forgot now. But in your work, maybe just a few sentences. In your work, people are coming to you and say, I really want to wake up. Where do you start?
Where I start? Really just here. And it really depends on the person, what the kind of wants to happen in the moment. But I just noticed I want to give a good answer. I often help people to go into the body. That's really what I do. And really learning to experience in the space in the body. And that's what I use as entrance in finding out who you are. And
it's also interesting, I read it somewhere, that you feel it's not good if somebody experienced a trauma, that they go back, revisit this trauma. So what would you do with them?
What I would do with them is, it's not like not going back, but it's trauma is often has a story to it. So there's an importance in telling the story, but not getting stuck in it, because when we start telling the story, the body gets activated.
We start reliving.
So I let somebody tell just a little bit of it, and until the point something gets activated. So then the nervous system gets activated, And then we really fully welcome that and work with the sensations.
Yeah.
And then working with the sensations, then the body can calm down, or basically the nervous system calms down. So that's kind of a building of new neural pathways, so then a sense of wholeness can come in the body. And then a relaxation, and then a little bit more of the story. Because when you tell the whole story, it gets activated and people fall in the pit. And then, you know, people tend to have then lots of emotions and stuff, and then a lot of people think, oh, yeah, that's really good, I had a lot of emotions. But they're really re-traumatizing. Nothing is really healing then and coming whole.
Yeah.
So it's really then me being the nervous system, the calming nervous system, where you could say the mother, what the mother does with the baby, just letting them know you're safe now, so that that can be received over there. But it's really like presence meeting their presence, silence meeting their silence, so that that can just rest more in themselves. So it's a very, can be a very slow process of really quite organized, so that people don't fall in that pit, because the urge is to tell the story again. Because that gives a feeling, I go through something and then I come out. But it doesn't calm. So that's really how I work with people that have a lot of trauma.
I'm sure you do very beautiful work. And sorry, I have to finish now. We have to finish. I really enjoyed meeting you, Marlies. And thank you for coming to us. And thank you for watching Conscious TV. Goodbye.